and I wish you a very good morning. Are all of you listening to me? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah. That's better, but only few of you are audible. Whereas in a class, you make so much of collective noise. Well, the topic today is very important, something which we keep hearing and something which you will read in medicine, surgery, pediatrics, and various other subjects. Now, this is from the point of view of community medicine. Tuberculosis is perhaps the most important communicable disease other than, say, malaria, which we Indians have to deal with in our lives. So this is very important, and it's a very lengthy chapter in PARC or perhaps in your other textbooks. I have tried to take the juice out of it, make it a little simple for you all, and you must keep some notes and you must read this after you have finished the class as a whole, maybe a couple of classes. And you must understand, because it took us some time to understand the topic of tuberculosis. Tuberculosis is a specific infectious disease caused by Mycobacterium tuberculosis. We all know this. The disease primarily affects the lungs and causes pulmonary tuberculosis. It can affect any part of your body, starting from intestines to meninges to bones and joints, to your lymph glands, to skin and other tissues of the body. Right? We all know all this. All this is called as extrapulmonary. So there is something called as pulmonary, there's something called as extrapulmonary, that is other than pulmonary. And also it affects animals like cattle, where it is known as bovine tuberculosis. And the most important thing is this can be communicated to man. All of us today are dealing with a virus which has been transmitted or communicated from an animal to man. Please remember, 70% of diseases in the coming years or perhaps in the past are zoonosis. They will be communicated to you and me through various animals, and one of them is tuberculosis. Well, let's go to a little bit of history. Early 19th and 20th century, this was known as white plague, because plague was known as Black Death. So this is known as white plague because it was equally bad and was responsible for nearly 1/4 of all deaths. Even today, tuberculosis rages like wildfire. In mid-20th century, mortality and morbidity due to tuberculosis came down to such an extent that it was believed that it could be eliminated. Man is very foolish. He thinks that he is God's own. He thinks that he owns the world. A small virus showed us the way, that we don't own it. We are just a small part of it. We are also God's creation as much as the virus is. Okay? So we thought that we could eliminate tuberculosis, but we couldn't do it. Obviously, we failed and we have been failing. TB has been found in the mummies of ancient Egyptians and the Andean Indians, right? That is in the Andes in South America, demonstrating that it has been in humans for thousands of years. It was first identified by Dr. Robert Koch in 1882. That's why it is known as Koch's disease. Statement. Please remember, it's a very important wide public health problem, despite the fact that the causative organism was discovered more than 100 years ago. TB continues to torment us, and highly effective drugs and vaccines are available, yet we still call it a preventable and curable disease, yet we have not been able to win the war against tuberculosis. From 1900 to 1980, tuberculosis death rate declined from 199 to 0.5 per lakh population in one of the most advanced countries in the world, that is the US. This decline started long before the advent of BCG or chemotherapy. Remember, 1900 to 1980. I will tell you when BCG came into being or when did chemotherapy start. Very late. And therefore, tuberculosis, also known as a social disease or a socio-economic status disease, has been this change or this decline in USA has been attributed to changes in the non-specific determinants of the disease, such as improvements in the standards of living and the quality of life in the people, coupled with the chemotherapy and the vaccine and the technical knowledge that we have researched and improved over the years. So please remember, if we stay in a proper, clean, hygienic, socio-economic, a middle-level socio-economic environment, we may be able to prevent the scourge of tuberculosis. 1/3 of the world's population is infected with TB. 1.9 billion people. Not very important to remember the statistics, but about 2 billion people are currently infected with TB, mostly in Asia and Africa. 7.25 million new cases are added in the infectious pool every year. And here we are talking about COVID, which has infected a few lakhs. Left untreated, a person with active TB can infect between 10 to 15 people in 1 year. Okay? Just to apprise you of the deadliness of this disease. This is a map which shows estimated tuberculosis incidence rate in 2017. You can obviously make out that the dark patches, this was a colored thing, the dark patch shows about more than 300 incidents per lakh population. India falls in the gray zone, that is about 200 to 299. Africa, you can see, is mostly dark. So also are the countries in Southeast Asia, including Indonesia, Malaysia, Sumatra, and all these islands, okay? And of course, the neighboring countries of Asia, India, are also a high burden tuberculosis country. So just remember, tuberculosis, as I told you, is a disease which is endemic in our country, and therefore we have to know much about this disease. India has the highest TB burden in the world. Approximately 20% of the global burden is there in tuberculosis. And 2/3, that is about 70% or 67% of the cases in Southeast Asia region, that is here, Southeast Asia region, are in India. Whenever you write a question on tuberculosis, first define the disease and also add a little bit about the problem statement. The problem statement is therefore a proof that it's a public health problem, and therefore we need to know more about it. Therefore we need to read about it. Therefore we need to prevent it, cure it. Every year, approximately 1.8 million persons develop tuberculosis, of which about 0.8 million are new smear-infected individuals. We will talk about the smear-infected or the smear-positive individuals in a while. Every day, 5,000 people develop TB. One person dies every minute. One person dies every minute. Okay? So 60 deaths in an hour. And you can make out 60 deaths in an hour into 24 hours in a day. How many people die in a day of tuberculosis the world over? 5,000 people develop TB. And how many people die? 3.7 million deaths every year due to tuberculosis. India contributes about 1/5 of TB cases in the world. This pie diagram is a little wrong because it shows India at 30%. This should be about 20%. Right? So India contributes to about 1/5 of the TB cases in the world. TB is more prevalent in adults than in children. Adults in productive age group 15 to 54 years includes you and are affected, and therefore the productive life or the people who can contribute to the economy of the country, they are affected. 80% of the people are in this group. Economic and social burden of the disease, 2/3 of the cases are males. You may like it or not, but still the males are more outdoorish. They are the people who are going out to work a little more than females. Okay, so therefore 2/3 of the cases are males. It takes a larger toll among females more than 34 years, kills more in the reproductive age group than all other causes of maternal morbidity combined. You're also reading about MCH right now, so you will appreciate that tuberculosis is a massive killer. It kills more in the reproductive age group among females, causes 1/3 of female infertility. Children leave school because of tuberculosis. They take up employment, what we call as child labor, and the vicious circle of poverty, unemployment, ignorance, and all these things, they keep increasing in a society like ours, in a developing country like ours. We are reading about migrant laborers and their problems recently because of the COVID situation. Migrant laborers, slum dwellers, backward and tribal people are mostly affected. Well, I often tell this word, HIV and TB are married. HIV increases a person's susceptibility to TB, one of the earliest opportunistic infections in HIV, which increases mortality and morbidity due to HIV, is tuberculosis. HIV is the most potent risk factor in progression of TB. America, which had almost eliminated TB, is now again struggling to control it because of HIV. Death due to TB is declining, especially in younger age groups. A silver lining in the cloud, perhaps it has crossed peak of secular epidemic curve and is beginning of the declining rate. So therefore, we are all waiting for the present coronavirus to peak and then plateau and then start declining. And therefore, TB is perhaps in younger age groups in the declining mode right now. So that is one good thing that you've heard in this morbid discussion. TB is a single leading infectious killer in the world. Just see, measles is somewhere down below, HIV, tetanus, STDs, they all come down below. TB is right up there. Estimated deaths in 1999, I'm sorry, I couldn't get a better graph, but the recent graph will also give you the same kind of picture, that TB is way above the others as far as the killers are concerned. Well, we come to epidemiological indices. These are very important from the exam point of view. We may ask a good student if he is doing well about incidence in tuberculosis. Well, it is no different than the incidence that you read in epidemiology, number of new and recurrent cases in a given year. I'll tell you what's a recurrent or a relapse case. Recurrent episodes are new episodes in people who had TB in the past. Please understand, I'm going a little fast, but you must remember, because you will be asked, what's a recurrent episode in TB? A new episode in people who had TB in the past and there was bacteriological confirmation of cure. I had TB, I got cured, and again I had a new episode of TB. So therefore, it's a recurrent episode. Okay? I was cured, there's documentation, and yet I get another bout of tuberculosis because of whatever reason. It could be a true relapse or a reinfection. It can be a true relapse, that is, the tuberculosis germs in my body, they again revolted, or it can be a fresh infection from mycobacteria that has come in. Retreatment cases, remember I have marked them in italics. Retreatment cases are relapse cases and patients who require a change in treatment. Please remember, there is a subtle difference between recurrent and retreatment. Okay, retreatment is a new episode in person who has had TB in the past and was cured. Retreatment is relapse and patients require a change of treatment. In recurrent episodes, you may be getting the same treatment what you got last time. Of course, the treatment is a ever-changing thing because we keep researching and coming out with new modalities. What is prevalence in tuberculosis? Number of TB cases at a given point in time. It is the best possible for caseload in the community. It's the best possible index for determining the caseload in the community. You will be asked in the Viva, what is the epidemiological index for calculating the caseload of tuberculosis in the community? Prevalence is your answer. Age-specific prevalence, that is when we break up the total prevalence into various age groups, that is the more relevant, or you can say most relevant index. Please go back to your epidemiology chapter and remember these words, which you perhaps may have forgotten. CFR, or case fatality rate, is risk of death from tuberculosis among patients with active TB. The numerator is a part of the denominator, right? Number of people died of tuberculosis divided by number of people suffering from tuberculosis. Mortality, number of deaths caused by tuberculosis among HIV negative. Please note the subtle differences in the definition. Just don't say number of deaths caused by tuberculosis. Number of deaths caused by tuberculosis among HIV negative. If a person is HIV positive and he is dying of tuberculosis, he is included in the HIV deaths. Suppose a person has got some opportunistic infection other than tuberculosis in HIV, and he dies of HIV, and he dies. We call it death due to HIV. Similarly, if he dies of tuberculosis, which I already mentioned is an opportunistic infection in the HIV positive, it is noted as a HIV death. Please remember the difference. What is case notification rate? It is new plus recurrent cases notified to WHO in a given year per lakh population. We call prevalence as the best possible index for case load in the community. Case notification is the best possible index for estimation of incidence in the community. So case load, incidence. Remember these things? They have been taken from your book. You can underline them, highlight them, read them before the exam, but remember them. If you just don't read them today, it may get confusing later on because you will forget the lesson. Case detection rate, number of notification of new and relapse cases in a year. See, it is getting a little confusing and little complicated. Case notification rate, new plus recurrent, notified. Case detection rate, number of notification of new plus relapse cases in a year, divided by the estimated incidence of such cases. Okay? So case detection rate is number of notification of new and relapse cases in a year. Case detection. Number of cases notified to WHO, case notification rate, almost the same, but they are given in your book as separate things. Please remember these epidemiological indices. Prevalence of drug-resistant cases, prevalence of patient excreting tuberculosis bacilli resistant to anti-tuberculous treatment. ATT is anti-tuberculous treatment, directly related to chemotherapy. Please remember, prevalence of drug-resistant cases is a very, very important thing. We will read about resistance in a while, perhaps in the next class. Well, we talked about prevalence of drug resistance cases. There are various types of epidemiological indices under the drug resistant cases. Prevalence of infection, percentage of individuals showing positive reaction. Please remember, this is not plus as we said in the previous thing. Pardon my abbreviations. Positive reaction to standard tuberculin test. We will tell you about tuberculin test. Perhaps you people know a little bit. Age-specific prevalence is a far superior indicator. Please remember, prevalence of infection is percentage of individuals showing positive reaction to standard tuberculin test. Incidence of infection, or also called as the annual infection rate, is percentage of population under study who will be newly infected by Mycobacterium tuberculosis among the non-infected of the preceding survey. So incidence of infection is an estimate you are making as an epidemiologist about the percentage of population under your study or purview who will be newly infected by Mycobacterium tuberculosis from the non-infected. Okay? Well, revised definitions of cases and treatment. This is 2013, 2014, and then amended as late as January this year. This is also given in your book. Please remember a few things from these. We talked about epidemiological indices, case detection rate, case notification rate, case fatality rate. Little confusing. Go back, underline them when the lesson is finished. And also remember, there are 2-3 columns in your book where revised definitions are given. They are also slightly complicated for the first-time reader or for the average student. I have tried to simplify it for you. What's a presumptive case of tuberculosis? Please remember, these things will be asked you in the exam. Presumptive case refers to a patient who presents with symptoms or signs suggestive of tuberculosis. So therefore, he was known as a TB suspect initially, but then the word is a little, derogatory at times. You are a suspect case. It sounds a little, a little like the police people suspect you or somebody suspects you. So therefore, they changed it to presumptive case. It refers to a patient who presents with symptoms or signs suggested. Please remember, he has not been confirmed. Well, we come down to case definitions. This we talked about, presumptive case. There are certain case definitions where we talk about a bacteriologically confirmed tuberculosis case. A bacteriologically confirmed tuberculosis case is one from whom a biological specimen is positive by smear. I told you about a positive smear case, or by culture, okay, or by WHO approved rapid diagnostics like expert MTB/RIF, okay. These are the approved rapid diagnostic tests of WHO. Please remember, he should be positive by smear, culture, or by WHO approved rapid diagnostics. I'll tell you more about the rapid diagnostics when we come to diagnosis of TB. All such cases who are bacteriologically confirmed should be notified regardless of whether TB treatment has started. So you have a responsibility as the MO tomorrow. Any case of tuberculosis in your private chamber or wherever you are working in the government hospital or in the PHC has to be notified to the health authorities. Clinically diagnosed TB case, right? It's a case which does not fulfill the criteria for bacteriological confirmation, but has been diagnosed with active TB by a pulmonologist or a clinician or other medical practitioner who has decided to give the patient full course of treatment. We often call it as an empirical case of tuberculosis. We used to call it. Now it is clinically diagnosed case of tuberculosis. This was bacteriologically confirmed. This is clinically diagnosed. You are not getting the bacteriological confirmation through smear, culture, or rapid test. So you are quite sure that the patient has got all the symptoms of tuberculosis, and therefore you will start his treatment. So clinically diagnosed tuberculosis case. Please give it a thought after the lesson is over and underline them in your book and read them just once so that you remember and you will connect with the class. Actually, you should be reading all this before and coming a little bit. This definition includes cases diagnosed on the basis of X-ray abnormalities or suggestive histology and extrapulmonary cases without, please underline the word without lab confirmation. So therefore, this has not got bacteriological confirmation. Remember, X-ray was not used in the previous diagnosis of bacteriological confirmation because it is bacteriological confirmation. It is not talking about X-ray. But in case you feel that a certain X-ray plate is suggestive, okay, and the patient has got symptoms, you can also call him a case of clinically diagnosed tuberculosis and start treatment. Clinically diagnosed cases subsequently found to be bacteriologically positive should be reclassified, I need not say this, as bacteriologically confirmed. So clinically diagnosed case can go to bacteriological confirmed case. Bacteriologically confirmed or clinically diagnosed cases of TB are also classified according to anatomical site, history of previous treatment, HIV status, drug resistance. I told you definitions itself of tuberculosis will become a little complicated. But then this is what the WHO mandates. You will have to remember this, perhaps mug it up, and again reproduce them, these definitions in your medicine and pediatric lessons. Anatomical site of the disease. Well, I need not say much about pulmonary tuberculosis. I already told you it involves the lung parenchyma or the tracheobronchial tree. Any bacteriologically confirmed or clinically diagnosed. Now you are sure what is bacteriologically confirmed, what is clinically diagnosed. Okay? So any of these cases which are either bacteriologically confirmed or clinically diagnosed, but involving the lung parenchyma or the tracheobronchial tree is known as pulmonary tuberculosis. We must understand the definitions well. If you understood the definitions, the rest of the lesson becomes a little easier. Miliary tuberculosis, you've heard about this word. is classified as pulmonary tuberculosis because miliary tuberculosis is infecting your lungs. Welcome, Payal Agarwal. Better late than never. Tuberculous intrathoracic lymphadenopathy, mediastinal or hilar, or tuberculous pleural effusion without radiographic abnormalities in the lungs constitutes a case of extrapulmonary tuberculosis. Please remember, tuberculous intrathoracic lymphadenopathy, okay, I'm talking about lymph glands, or pleural effusion without X-ray abnormality in the lungs. So lungs appear to be normal. Therefore, it becomes EPTB, not PTB. A patient with both pulmonary and EPTB should be classified as a case of pulmonary tuberculosis. So therefore, the full definition of pulmonary tuberculosis is clinically or bacteriologically confirmed case with the lung involvement of tracheobronchial tree. It includes things like miliary tuberculosis and sometimes some cases of EPTB where the mediastinal or hilar lymphadenopathy is found and pleural effusion is there without perhaps any X-ray, chest X-ray changes. They are also classified as a case of pulmonary tuberculosis. Must remember what is pulmonary tuberculosis. Extrapulmonary, any bacteriologically confirmed or clinically diagnosed case of TB involving the organs other than lungs. I told you the organs before when I gave the definition of tuberculosis. It may include the pleura, the lymph nodes, abdomen, genitourinary tract, skin, joints, bones, and meninges. Please remember, pleura and lymph nodes are involved. But here, he is talking only about the lymph nodes in mediastinum or hilar and tuberculous pleural infusion. Okay, it consists a case of EPTB, but a patient with both pulmonary and EPTB. That is, if I have this lymphadenopathy as well as infection of the lungs, I am classified not as EPTB, but as pulmonary tuberculosis. Extrapulmonary tuberculosis without involvement of the lungs. If lungs involved, it becomes PTB. The second classification is based on previous treatment. Slightly different from those previously defined, this definition, it focuses only on the history of previous treatment and is independent of bacteriological confirmation or site of the disease. So therefore, we have got new patients, never been treated or never taken anti-tuberculous drugs for less than 1 month. They have taken tuberculous drugs for less than 1 month. After that, they have run away or they have thought they have become cured. So there are various types of patients, ignorant patients who don't think that the doctor knows, they think that they only know, and they have taken anti-tuberculous drugs for less than a month, or patient who has been treated, who has never been treated for tuberculosis is called as a new patient. Remember, we are now classifying as per history of previous treatment. Previously treated patients received 1 month or more of ATT. So my total treatment was 6 months. I took the treatment for 2 months and I ran away. So I am a previously treated patient. The treatment was not complete, but I took it for more than a month. Further classified by the outcome of their most recent course of treatment, as we will see in the next page. Here we come to very, very important definitions and something which may be again asked in the exam: relapse. When do you call a TB case as relapsed? Relapsed patients have previously been treated for tuberculosis. They were declared cured or treatment was completed at the end of their most recent course of treatment and are now diagnosed with a recurrent episode of tuberculosis. I told you this in the case definition part. Relapsed patients have been previously treated for tuberculosis, documented as cured, treatment was completed, and again they were diagnosed with a recurrent episode of tuberculosis. There can be a true relapse or there can be a new episode. I am just repeating what I told you previously. Treatment after failure patients. Treatment after failure patients are those who have previously been treated for tuberculosis and whose treatment failed at the end of the most recent course of treatment. I took a full course of treatment for tuberculosis, yet I was not cured. My treatment has failed. Treatment after failure patients. Remember, treatment after failure patients. Treatment after loss to follow-up patients. Patients who have been previously treated and were declared lost to follow-up at the end of their most recent treatment course. Previously, they were known as defaulters. Now the term has changed to treatment after loss to follow-up. I told you many patients run away. Okay, so a patient who has run away, okay, after treatment, previously treated patient can also be a treatment after loss to follow-up because he has not come for his follow-up. Okay. Other previously treated patients are those who have been previously treated for tuberculosis, but whose outcome after their most recent course of treatment is unknown or undocumented. Other previously treated patients are those who have been previously treated for tuberculosis, but the outcome is not known. Okay? Here we know the outcome. Perhaps he has been cured or he's got a relapse, as we discussed in the previous page. But there are some people in whom the outcome is not known. Perhaps it is not documented. Perhaps they have lost the document. Perhaps they don't know about their own ailment. Perhaps the doctor never told them about their outcome. So therefore, other previously treated patients. Please remember, these are not very important from the point of view of exam, except for relapse and perhaps new and previously treated patients. Remember them. Patients with unknown previous TB treatment history do not fit into any of the categories above. Patients with unknown previous TB treatment history. A person who is very old, he has taken TB treatment 40 years back, he does not remember, he does not have any data, document. Patients with unknown previous TB treatment history. He is very vague about it. And new and relapsed cases of TB are the incident TB cases. Please remember, we talked about incidence and prevalence, and new and relapsed cases of TB are incident TB cases. We discuss them as per the anatomical site. We discuss them as per the treatment, history of treatment. Now we are coming to a very, very important part, that is as per the HIV status. HIV positive TB patient, any bacteriologically confirmed or clinically diagnosed case of TB who has a positive result from HIV testing conducted at the time of tuberculosis diagnosis or other documented evidence of enrollment in HIV care, such as enrollment in pre-ART, antiretroviral treatment register, or in the antiretroviral treatment register once ART has been started. Please remember, a little confusing, HIV positive TB patient is a person who has been confirmed as tuberculosis bacteriologically or clinically and who has had HIV also, which is also confirmed. Right? Please remember, and he has been confirmed that he is a HIV positive patient and he has been started on ART. And he also gets tuberculosis, which is either bacteriologically confirmed or clinically diagnosed. By this time, I'm sure the class is aware of what is bacteriologically confirmed and what is clinically diagnosed. HIV negative TB patient. This was HIV positive. This is HIV negative. HIV negative TB patient, any bacteriologically confirmed or clinically diagnosed case of tuberculosis who has negative, minus VE is negative, result from HIV testing conducted at the time of tuberculosis diagnosis. Please remember, a patient of HIV who is a patient of tuberculosis who has negative test for HIV. Nowadays, whenever we get a HIV case, we tell him to go for a TB, investigation. Whenever we get a TB case, we tell him to go for HIV testing. Any HIV negative TB patient subsequently found to be HIV positive should be reclassified as HIV positive TB patient. Right? HIV status unknown, nothing to understand in this. Any bacteriologically confirmed or clinically diagnosed case of tuberculosis who has no result and no documented evidence of enrollment in HIV care. I told you we send them compulsorily for HIV testing he has got no result from there, or he has no document. Many patients come to you like that. So you will first classify him as HIV status unknown, and then you will either classify him as negative or positive. Lastly, we come to the classification as per the drug resistance. Please pay attention, class. This is something which is so important that you will keep hearing this in every class of tuberculosis and otherwise, henceforth. Because your treatment, your thought process, everything will depend on one word which is common to all the definitions here, and that is resistance. Cases are classified in categories based on drug susceptibility testing. Please remember this word DST, of clinical isolates confirmed to be Mycobacterium tuberculosis. We have to classify the patients now on basis of their resistance to certain drugs. Okay, we will come to the drugs a little later, but I'm sure you will be familiar with some names of drugs and you are not totally ignorant, so it won't be very difficult for you. In any case, in the book, this comes for the drug treatment. Monoresistance, resistance to one first-line anti-tuberculosis drug. What is Okay, sorry class, there was a power failure and I'm sure you will be able to listen to me now. Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we were talking about monoresistance and we were talking about polydrug. Please remember, monoresistance does not say excluding INH and rifampicin, whereas polydrug says other than INH and rifampicin. These are very, very important definitions. Multi-drug resistance, resistance to at least one, resistance to at least both INH and rifampicin. So, multi-drug. Polydrug, once you include INH and rifampicin, becomes multi-drug. Okay? Extensive drug resistance, XDR. We will read about these a little later. Resistance to any fluoroquinolone and to at least one of three second-line injectable drugs, namely Caprio, Cana, and Amikacin, in addition to multi-drug resistance. So we have talked about monodrug resistance, we have talked about multi-drug resistance, we have talked about polydrug resistance, and we have talked about extensive drug resistance. Remember these definitions. A student will be asked what is resistance, and then perhaps if you can define, you will be asked what is mono, what is poly, what's the difference between poly and multi, and what is extensive. Because we will talk about treatment of extensive drug resistance at the end of this chapter. The rifampicin resistance, I told you INH and rifampicin are special. So therefore resistance to rifampicin detected using phenotypic or genotypic methods with or without resistance to any other anti-tuberculous drugs, including any resistance within, sorry. So therefore, rifampicin per se has got a resistance to its name, rifampicin resistance. It includes any resistance to rifampicin, whether mono, multi, poly, or extensive. All these four can be including rifampicin resistance. These categories, needless to say, are not mutually exclusive. Well, treatment outcome definitions. The new treatment outcome definitions make a clear distinction between two types of patients. Patients treated for drug susceptible tuberculosis. I talked about DST, drug susceptibility test. Patients are subjected to drug susceptibility test because of resistance factors. We have just read a very, very important part of the tuberculosis chapter about resistance, the types of resistance. Patients treated for drug resistance TB using second line. So therefore, they are defined as combination chemotherapy for drug resistant tuberculosis, which includes drugs other than first line. So therefore, first line, simple tuberculosis, pulmonary tuberculosis, drug susceptibility test done, all is susceptible to drugs given first line. But then patients who are treated for DST using second line, because they are resistant to certain things, certain drugs, and therefore they have to be given combination chemotherapy for tuberculosis with drugs other than first line, that is second line. The two groups are mutually exclusive; they are not inclusive. Okay. This is also given in your book in the form of a huge table on the 2 pages. Please remember treatment outcomes for TB patient, and this includes people who are treated for, excludes people who are treated for RR-TB or MDR-TB. Okay, excludes patients who are treated for rifampicin resistant tuberculosis or multi-drug resistant tuberculosis. Cured, treatment completed, treatment failed, died. There are 4 or 5 categories of treatment outcomes. We have talked about the diagnosis. We have talked about the definitions. We are now talking about treatment outcomes. Okay, the treatment outcomes of people who are having rifampicin resistance or MDR resistance, and people who are just tuberculosis patients. Right? A pulmonary TB patient with bacteriological confirmed tuberculosis at the beginning of treatment. Thank God, the light has come. Tuberculosis at the beginning of treatment or culture negative in the last month of treatment and on at least one previous occasion. So therefore, a confirmed case of tuberculosis, which he has completed treatment and then he has been marked as Mayer negative or culture negative, right? Completed. A TB patient who has completed treatment without evidence of failure. TB patient who has completed treatment without evidence of failure, but with no record to show that sputum smear or culture results in the last month of treatment and on at least one previous occasion were negative. Treatment has been completed, okay, but the tests have not been done, but the results are not available. Please pay attention where you have the results in front of you. Treatment completed is you have completed the treatment, but the results of the sputum smear or culture is yet not. A TB patient whose sputum smear or culture is positive at month 5 or later during treatment. That means he is almost completed his treatment and he is positive for sputum and culture. Die. A patient who dies for any reason before starting or during the course of treatment. Loss to follow-up, we have read about this, not evaluated, the patient was not evaluated, he was transferred out to another treatment unit. Okay, treatment success, whenever the patient has completed treatment and has been diagnosed as cured, he is known as treatment success. Similar outcomes for RRTB, can't see the top actually, the, yeah, for RRTB, DRTB, and drug, highly drug resistant and multi-drug resistant tuberculosis. Cure. Treatment completed as recommended by the national policy without evidence of failure, and 3 or more consecutive culture stages 30 days apart are negative after the intensive phase. Right? That is cure. Treatment completed as recommended without evidence of failure, but no record is there. I mean, you haven't got the cultures, the results of the cultures or the 50 days apart. Treatment failed, treatment terminated, or need for permanent regimen change for at least 2 antituberculosis drugs because of various reasons. This treatment failed. The patient dies for any reason during the course of treatment is classified as died. Cost of follow-up, not inadequate, and treatment success, definition of as previous months. Okay. 40 minutes we have taken the class, we have been able to just complete the important definitions and the epidemiological indices. Please remember the indices, prevalence, incidence, case fatality rate, the detection rate, the notification rate. These are short, or they can be asked in the Viva, or they can be part of a long question in the exam. When we come to the case definitions, we have also defined the bacteriologically confirmed case as well as the clinically confirmed case. Okay, and we have also defined as per the site, anatomical site, PTB, we have also as per the HIV status, treatment outcomes, and finally, the most important, resistance definitions. Okay, and last one. Class is not paying attention. I said, and the last one. Well, we don't have much time. But then after that, we also define the treatment outcomes. The treatment outcomes are given in your book in the form of a table. They are slightly confusing. Please remember the left side part, that is cured, treatment completed, treatment failed, died, lost to follow-up, not evaluated, and treatment success. These are very important from the epidemiological point of view. We will talk about the agent, dose, the environment in the next class. TB is a very important. You should attend. In case some people are with you, please tell them you should from the next class on. Thank you. I hope I was audible and there was not much of a disturbance. Hello. Anybody there? Class? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
This conference is no longer being recorded. This conference will now be recorded.